Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how I made high-waisted American flag shorts, and I know this is kind of late if you want to do it for the 4th of July, but Americana stuff is really in right now, so you could really make these and wear them whenever you want. And let's go ahead and find out what we're going to need. So what you're going to need are some straight pins, some foam paintbrush things that I got from Michael's, some needles, some fabric glue, and I'm using my American flag fabric that I got from eBay and Amazon, but you could always use another kind of fabric if you didn't want to do American flag shorts. Now let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and measure to where I want my shorts, where I want the length to be, and I'm actually cutting them fairly long because what I'm going to do is actually roll my shorts, and you could always make it so it's frayed at the end, but for this particular look I really wanted it more clean, so I'm going to go ahead and roll them, but I'm just cutting them, like I said, rather long so I can get the length right. And then I just went ahead and went back after I tried on my shorts and I marked where I needed to cut, and then I'm cutting them again. And if you look at my one video on how to cut high-waisted shorts, I think I'm more descriptive there. And when I'm just going to fold them in half to make them even, and you're going to want to make sure that they're zipped and buttoned because that's going to make them as even as they can be when you cut them like this. And of course, Whitney decided to bother me. But now, after I cut them, I've already washed and dried them. And as you can see, there's fraying at the bottom. And all I'm doing there is I'm just cutting it off because, like I said, I'm going to be rolling my shorts anyways. So you're not going to see any of that. And I forgot to mention that I actually picked up these shorts from my local Goodwill, and they are actually little boys shorts because they were the only ones that I could find that fit me for $2.99. Once I cut off all the string, I just rolled that side to see if it was at the length that I liked it, and I am going to roll this side just to make sure that the length matches up and that the cuffs are going to be the same size. And then as you can see there, they are the same size and they look a little puffy there, but we're going to fix it at the end. Now all I'm doing is just laying down the fabric to see how I want it, and I want my stripes pointed up at an angle, not straight across. So I was just seeing if it looked alright. And then all I'm doing now is just laying the fabric flat across the front of the jeans, and I'm just tracing the one side, and I'm leaving extra fabric as I trace it so I could cut it off at the end, because it's always better to work with more than it is with less, because you can always take away and you can't really add more. So now all I'm doing is just cutting the shape that I traced, and I found it a little bit difficult because I wasn't really holding on to either side. So as you can see there, I kind of had to use my foot. So if you have a way to anchor it to something, it's a lot easier. And then as you can see there, that is what it looks like. And I did, as you can see, trace out the pocket. And of course, Whitney, tries to distract me. It never fails. Every single time I make a video, she's always there. And now all I'm doing is tracing the pattern. And what I did was actually flipped over the star fabric because it's gonna be opposite, so that's all you're gonna have to do. If you do it the same way, it's gonna be different. And now I actually ironed my fabric because there were some creases in it, and then I folded it when it was hot, so that's why there's a crease in there now. But all I'm doing is folding it under and straight pinning it to the side so you can see the seam of the jeans. And then I'm not folding it under here, but what I'm doing now is just taking it and going around the curve of the pocket. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the stripes fabric. And like I said, I'm angling my stripes at an angle, like at an upward angle, because I don't want them straight across. Now here's the important part. I'm going to start with the glue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fabric glue and I'm going to have to cut off the top. And then it just creates a hole that is kind of like that size there. And then I'm going to take one of those little sponge paintbrush things. I don't know what they are called. If you do, let me know what it is in the bottom. And I started off with the small one, but I ended up using the big one because it covered more area a lot quicker. So I'm just squirting the glue onto the sponge and just brushing it over the jeans in a very thin layer. You don't want to do too much because you don't want to have it take forever to dry, because it does take 2 to 4 hours. And then I'm just covering, like I said, the entire jean, and then I'm going to smooth the fabric over top of it, making sure that there aren't any lumps and bumps. And the reason that I'm gluing it down rather than just sewing the edges is because I don't want it to bulge and kind of just have like a flapping fabric, if that makes sense. And then once I get to the insides there, I'm just taking the small brush and going to use the glue there because it's more it's smaller, so it's easier for detail work. And then, like I said, I'm just going to push all of the fabric very close to the edges where it's been glued, and making sure that there aren't any ridges. And then what I'm going to do once it's completely smooth is I'm just going to take straight pins just around the edge to make sure that the fabric stays in place, and so that it dries in the correct place, and again, so there aren't any ridges. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to the other side, but what I'm going to do is actually leave out this zipper part. So I'm just going to go ahead and go around that, and you guys saw in the beginning what that looks like, and I personally like that. You could always go over it if you want, but that's how I did it. Okay, now this looks really strange, but I pretty much just took stuff from around my room and stuffed the shorts so that they were, so they didn't have any ridges in them when they dried. And now that the glue is completely dry, I think mine took about 2 hours because I did a really thin layer of glue. I'm going to go ahead and take out all of the straight pins. Now, I forgot to mention this in the beginning, but you're going to need some thicker string that you use for like friendship bracelets, and I think it's just like embroidery, or I'm not really sure what kind of string it is, but I will look that up and put it in the bottom bar. But I'm just going to go ahead and take a needle that has a pretty big hole and thread it through, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and make it so the string is pretty long because it has a far way to go around. And then once I have it completely threaded, I'm just going to go ahead and start at the bottom. I don't need to go across the bottom because it's just going to be cuffed anyway. But I'm going to go ahead and start to just sew, and the stitches, I'm going to make them pretty thick, but you can always make them exactly how you want. And then I'm just going to go ahead and go all the way around the outside of the fabric, and I actually did this after, or I started to do it before I cut, or before I sewed, but I actually decided that it's a lot easier to do it after, so that's why I showed you to sew first and then cut the excess fabric off. And then that's what it looks like after I've completely sewed it. And then it took me a long time to get to this point. I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely a project. So I wanted to go ahead and cuff this side to show you guys what it looked like. But I just went ahead and cuffed it, and then I am using my iron to smooth it down and make sure that there's a good crease so it doesn't uncuff. And then I'm going to go ahead and just do the back so it's all the same length all the way around. And then when you do the seams, you're going to really want to focus on them because they tend to stick up a lot. As you can see there, I'm just really making sure that it's laying flat. And then once I have the first cuff in, I'm going to go ahead and roll it one more time because I don't want the fray to show at all, because like I said, I want it to be more of like a clean look. And as you can see there, there's a piece of string that is going to be showing. So all I did was just cut it and tied it farther up so you couldn't see it. And then again, I'm just going to go ahead and use the iron and finish the cuff, really focusing on the seams. Okay, so here's the finished product, and this is how my jeans turned out. As you can see, there's still a string that's hanging out, so I kind of have to fix that. I didn't really realize that. But this is what they look like. I think they turned out really well, and I've seen a lot of tutorials on how to do American flag shorts but using paint, but I didn't necessarily want to do that. I wanted the fabric, and I was inspired by Runway Dreams, and I'll put the link below. And I think the jeans cost, I think like $168 or something like that. But I did have pockets, and they do come out, but I think I like it better in. You guys let me know. Take a minute to subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys want to see. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope this helped. I hope you guys have a really safe and fun 4th of July. Take care, everyone.